Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Soo, your 2022 Oakland mayoral candidate. Well, here's an update on the wood stove. We burned it in a day ago, and then last night I actually ran this, and I burned standard wood I got from the grocery store in a pile, and this stayed very, very warm. I mean, the box itself was very hot, and I actually ran a fan over this. In fact, this fan right here, and what I did, I put it on top up here like this, and then it was pointed down onto the surface, and it blew horizontally the hot air coming off of the box here, and so it kept my shelter pretty much in the 60s, about mid 60s or so. It was very comfortable last night. Only drawback about the wood is that every couple hours you got to get up, kind of roll the logs, get it going again, because you notice that the shelter inside starts cooling down because it was very cold last night. It was windy. This morning when I woke up, it was 51 degrees. Wednesday, it's supposed to drop into the upper 40s for the first time this year. Upper 40s. 48 degrees is the anticipated low for overnight cold temperatures. So Wednesday, Thursday, that's predicted. This is going to come in real handy. So let me talk about some of the features. It operated very well throughout the night. We have ventilation right here. You can open up to allow more air in or shut air off, so that if you've never used a stove like this, it's different. You have small air holes which control the fire and how much oxygen goes into the box to cause the logs to get hotter or cooler by less air. And so and this opens up. You can see that there's a little log here. I'll bring this in tight so that you can see. So you can see the ash and everything all inside there. So it did really, really well last night. I was very comfortable throughout the night. And like I said, it maintained. But there were some problems. And right around the door, you'll see that there's a seal right here. It's made of a fire-resistant material. So I'll bring it up close so you can see it. That's the door seal. And so when I first saw it, it was actually attached to the door with some kind of tape, and that's what you see right here. That's a tape, and the tape is all burned off. So they did kind of a cheap way of attaching this to the door, but because the seal's not on the door anymore, I'm not able to completely shut off a fire in the morning by completely closing a door, closing off the vents, and then closing the door and locking it. I'm not able to turn off a fire. So in the event that there's an emergency, that creates a real problem where you cannot extinguish the fire. And so that's why it's important to have a fire extinguisher handy. In my case, I have a water cannon fire extinguisher. So if I have to suppress a fire because it got out of control or something, I have a way to fully extinguish that fire. And inside of a shelter like this is approximately 300 square feet. A fire can get out of control very, very quickly. And that's why I have a water cannon for that. And then it's also for the camp, because number one, I can simply open the top, put 2 gallons of water in there, put it back together, use a tire pump it up to 100 psi. I'm ready to go in about 5 to 6 minutes if the water is available. So that's real helpful. But here's some of the things that I really like about the stove that I'm finding though. It has a nice big flat surface here, and so this becomes a cooking surface. So I could put a fry pan, a pot on top, and that'll heat things up. There's also a water tank that can be purchased that sits right here on the very back and goes around the exhaust flue. And this exhaust flue gets really hot. I mean, it got hot last night where, you know, you see the heat shield that I put up, which is heavy duty aluminum foil, and then I put some standoffs, made some standoffs out of the aluminum foil so that there's some distance on the flue so that the heat transfer is minimal. I minimize it as much as possible. Plus, with that fan blowing on there, you have constant flow of air, which helps to keep things cool. So also, there's a damper control. So right here, there's a little damper, so I can actually close this, because last night it got really windy, and on certain times the wind got so strong that I would see puffs of smoke come out from the door and the vent. So this kind of minimizes that by closing things off rather than having it completely open. You close it off a portion of the way, and then that relieves the back pressure from the wind pushing down the pipe. So that relieves some of that pressure and minimizes that backflow. And so that's real important on that also. But when you don't have any heat, because right now, as you see, there's no heat on here. I put my hand right on the very top without any worry. And then that's when you want to close the damper for days like this, because you kind of hear the wind going in the background here. It's a really blustery day. It's early fall. Today was supposed to reach a high temperature of 71. So I don't think we're going to get there with all the wind. We could get there, but then this really creates a situation. I remember back in 1991, that was the Oakland Hills fire, and it was conditions very similar to this, and it was something really simple that got out of hand and created the hillside fire, which destroyed hundreds of homes in the Oakland Hills. And then also right now what we have going, because of the high winds, a lot of our North Bay residents here are going, or are subject to a power shutoff by PG&E for their area. Also up in the mountains, Red Bluff and is what I heard this morning. And so there's a wide area, and it's anticipated that 44,000 Bay Area residents will be affected by not having any electricity whatsoever. And so that creates a situation where I've been advocating and talking about folks moving to solar electricity. I've done so. Pretty much everything I have here is now running on solar. My refrigerators are on solar. All of my electronics are on solar. My lighting is on solar. Solar is the future, and that's your hedge against power shutoffs, emergency shutoffs from fires, blackouts from transformers blowing up. So by having your own solar system as your backup, be sure to have a battery backup system with your solar, otherwise you're going to be in the dark, because if you do grid tie and have no battery backup, you're going to be in the dark still, even with your solar panels. They could be operating, but if you're grid tied, everything's dead. And so you're dead in the water. So that's why you need to have a battery backup system along with your solar. And so that hedges you from being harmed by power being cut off, or emergencies, earthquakes, all sorts of disasters that can drastically have caused PG&E to shut down its electricity and power to large regions until everything can be inspected and okayed, and then can be turned back on. But anyway, this is going to work out pretty well. I burned one package of wood, so now I have an idea of how much wood it's going to take to kind of get through a week. And so I'm going to be looking at buying bulk wood. Plus also there's a lot of wood in the neighborhood that gets discarded, tossed on the street. So we'll be looking at some of that and utilizing some of those disposed woods, and then we'll burn that. Also, pieces like cardboard help start the fire inside the box. So we're going to be burning cardboard as part of the fire starting process, and then that helps bring the heat up, brings the logs up to temperature so that they get burning on their own very quickly. So that's everything here. We have a flue. In fact, that's how I'm going to close it out. I'm going to show you the end of this pipe right here, because this pipe is 6.5 feet in length, and so it goes up over my roof. I'm going to go outside here. And once I get the gate open, so there's my exhaust flue. And how you can tell a lot of these are operating, you'll see it smoking. Right now you see no smoke, but it's well above my roof, so that I don't have to worry about any ash that comes out of there dropping onto the surface. Also, there's a constant circulation of moving atmosphere here, and so it's really safe. Carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide goes out through the very end up there because it's full of holes. So anyway, thanks for joining me today. We'll be right back.